instinctively there's a little bit of pushback amongst the public on the idea of tolling if the offset was that their gas tax might go down so that people in the state were paying less of a burden, people coming into the state were paying a little bit more.
That's Governor Walker responding to all the talk about tolls and whether it is time for Wisconsin to explore that option. Walker has not been a fan of tolls.
Joining us now is State Representative Dale Kooyenga and State Senator Lena Taylor. You guys know firsthand what the governor has basically put in your hands. He does not want a gas tax, but yet you guys need to find a way to fund transportation. How do you do it?
I think you have to put everything on the table. I think it's irresponsible to do anything else. And, you know, there's no question that the governor is very familiar with crumbling infrastructure, so he knows that you have to be responsible. He left Milwaukee County in a infrastructure shambles, and people got harmed from that. We need to make sure public safety is at the forefront, so we have to put everything on the table.
Do you think the infrastructure is crumbling?
Well, there's definitely places in our state where the infrastructure needs some help. I mean, it's February in Wisconsin, and I think every February in Wisconsin we feel like the roads need more help. But this is a bipartisan problem. I know Governor Doyle's had the same problem. Governor Walker now has transportation issues to deal with. And I think what's important is we look at the solution. We have had a lot of things that are in front of us as far as gas efficiency and other challenges. And we need to look at the revenue mix we have in Wisconsin and see what makes sense.
But is this a repair problem or a rebuild problem, or am I just sort of mixing the two here?
Well,
it's both. I mean, so some parts of the state need repair and maintenance, and other parts of the state need to rebuild. I mean, the fact is that in southwest Wisconsin, our interstate system is the oldest part of the system in the state, and it's been 40, 50 years, and some of those places need an overhaul of the transportation system.
But if I could, I believe it's repair. I believe it's rebuild or replace, and I believe it also is rethink. I think we have to think about where we are. Technology, you know, times have changed, and we have to rethink how we're doing it. What we know for sure is we need a funding source for transportation, and we have to think about transportation, not just concrete, but people being able to connect to work. And that is what I hear.
Transportation as well.
Well, public transportation, but also employers are having issues connecting individuals, and training facilities are. So even the thought process of what we do, and it may not just be public transportation, it might be another creative way, and our children need to get to school. So all transportation, I think ultimately we need to think about it, and our commerce depends on transportation. So we need to rethink how things are affected. We need to put everything on the table. We need to fix what we shouldn't have broke in the first place, because I think the gas tax should not have been repealed before. I think we need to think about that, and then I think we also need to think about new ways, and I'm not opposed to doing that.
But is this a revenue problem? Is it finding new revenue sources in order to pay for it, or is it looking at how it's been paid in the past, wasteful spending?
Well, there's definitely some ways to look at the spending, and I've been speaking to people around the state from different viewpoints, and I think there's a lot of ways that we could look at where we could cut costs, and that is definitely step one. And there's an audit going around right now at the Department of Transportation, and I'm hearing a lot of great ideas as far as what we can do to cut costs. I know on the way here on Capitol Drive, there's this nice, beautiful digital sign that tells me how long my transportation time is to the interchange. And I'm like, doesn't everyone have phones now that does that? Like, does anybody
You got to pay attention to the road, Dale. You got to pay attention to the road.
Even then, you put on Pilot, it talks to you.
No, we do not want them doing it during
there are
the
places
drive.
to save money, there's no doubt. But the fact is our cars are more fuel efficient. That is fact. And there's also people that are using more, I think, like the next wave of technology with Uber type technology. I think more and more people are going to use that technology to say, hey, I'm going from Brookfield to Madison, who wants to jump in with me? I think the technology is going to make our fuel efficiency increase. Other technology about things which is more of a challenge.
But if I could jump in and answer the question of whether or not I think it is, you know, one or the other spending or not, I think it's both. I think that we do have to look at efficiencies. There's no question about that. But I think we do have to look at the funding streams, because we also have to be realistic about where we've allowed things to get. So if you don't fix the leak on your roof today, today it's a leak. But tomorrow it's a leak in everything that it damaged in the inside, and costs have gone up. So when we don't deal with our roads the way that we need to, when we put things off, we then make it where it's going to be more expensive. So we have those issues to deal with, and we've got to deal with our reality of where we are.
Right now in the general fund, we have $200 million. So it used to be that the fund was rated, the transportation fund was rated for the general fund. Now what's going on is we're transferring about $200 million from the general fund to the transportation fund. That means a couple of things. It means that we can't put that money into priorities like our education system or other priorities we have. It also means our taxes on the income tax side and other taxes that are supposed to be for other purposes are higher than they should be. I would like to see those taxes go down and have the funds for transportation be segregated.
So let me get you to the few seconds we have here. The revenue source, the 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Is it tolls? Is it gas tax? Is it user fees? Where's it going to be?
Well, we keep talking about tolls, but
I know it's not an option now, but at some point.
For me, I think all of those things have to be considered and on the table. There is no question for me that I think we should have never addressed the issue of repealing the gas tax. I think that that was wrong. I think that the reason that we have the shortages that the representative just spoke about is because of those choices that were made. I think that we also have to prioritize transportation to not just be concrete, because when you do that, some of the dollars that we're spending in general purpose revenue should have been in transportation anyway. And so if we reconsider those things, maybe we're not transferring funds in the way that has been articulated.
Representative.
there's a lot of talk about tolls. We cannot do tolls. The federal government says
We can't do them now, but we can move
You
it.
can get permission, and you got a pipeline, right, to D.C.
Yeah,
now, right?
they don't really take but that gets into the concept of federalism. I love in general the whole idea of allowing states to have more control. That's across Medicaid and education and transportation. But right now, we do not have the power. We need to deal with what we have the power to do right now, and tolls aren't. We don't have the power to do tolls.
We can surely ask.
And we could keep this conversation going.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Well, coming up, it's a question Jerry Seinfeld would ask. What is it about millennials and cars?
And why some millennials see funding highway expansion projects as wasteful spending and insist that public transportation should be more of the priority.